How do you see the idea of leadership? What makes for a good leader?
So let me first begin by seeing how, before I get on to how do I spot a leader and what are those attributes of a leader, etc. I think if I reflect back, first of all, I must confess that you might already know that I'm an old man. And when you're dealing with an old man, you get a lot of advice. And as you know, advice is one commodity where supply exceeds demand. Okay, so bear with me if I do say some things. So if I reflect back 50 years ago, my career, did I know that I would become a leader? The answer is no. Did I dream I would become leader? Question mark. I'm not sure. I was told I was a happy-go-lucky guy. So I'm not one of those guys who thought, okay, I must become X and I must aspire to do that. You have a structured programs, you have intern park, no such thing. And I've been across the country. And then you start, you reflect back, you start analyzing, how did you become a leader? How does one become a leader? And when you are in an organization where there are more than 300,000 people, and you are in a profession which again is more than, now today 300,000 people. So whether it's your organization, whether it's your profession, or whether in society, how do you stand out and become a leader? Okay. The first thing, it's not that I went through a structured program, but a realization dawned that when you looked around, there are people with positions and titles, but nobody listened to them. There are people with no positions and titles, and you listen to them. It happened more so because I used to play a lot of cricket at very high levels. And you have a person as a captain, but you will find there are others in the field giving instructions. You see it today also in the IPL and in other things. Some naturally gravitate to a leadership position. Then you start thinking, what is it that makes a leader? First, what does not make a leader is leadership is not position or title. And in the organization, when I grew up the ranks as a trainee to being finally onto the global board of Deloitte, it's not a small achievement. However, it meant at each stage, there are enough people around who can take your place. There are enough levels above you, and there are enough geographies around. It is not one place. And there are different people with different skill sets also. And of course, the environment keeps changing, etc. And added to it is the dimension where the grass on the other side looks green. There are different organizations where you can go to, right? But the thing is, the fundamental thing is you need to first stand out. And I soon realized that leadership, the first quality of a leader, amongst the many qualities I can take you through, is quality itself is the best ambassador. If you stand out, and I ask the question even today, even as a director, why am I wanted? Is it because of my position as a director am I wanted? Why am I heard? Why am I listened to? There must be something. I should be relevant. Of course, I should be reliable, and therefore that is quality. But the key thing is making yourself relevant to others. Then people gravitate to you. And whilst you do that, the second quality of a leader is to remember that it is not authority but influence which determines a leader. Your ability to influence people above you and below you, and those along with you. All sides, you work with influence, and how you influence, and we can talk about that. And the third quality clearly is humility is the quality you need to have. You need to be humble, and I'll talk about certain other qualities which every individual need to have. But most importantly, a leadership should have empathy, feeling. being able to put oneself in the other's shoes. You can never succeed as a leader if you think only about yourself. You should think about whom you're dealing with. And all through my life, I did three things: observe, absorb, and adapt. You observe all the time. You're observing people, you're observing events, you're observing actions, and then you absorb what you think is the right thing, and then you adapt. Even with my bosses, I would always wonder, why is it he can find this, why can't I find it? I'm staring at those sheets of paper every day, those numbers. What is it? Is he so brilliant? If he's so brilliant, or do I reconcile myself saying my IQ is low, or do I work to improving myself to say, how can I do what he does? And that is important, that is. I'll pause here and I'll take, there's a lot more I can speak about.
So I think this is great. So I think we've got some
just set a foundation.
Contours of what leadership means, more influence than control, and so on and so forth. But in the path to becoming a leader, so one is once you become a leader, what you become. But a lot of us here are saying, okay, how do we climb the ladder, right? How do we get our next promotion? How do we take our boss's job or super boss's job, and so on and so forth? So how some things on how do we build stakeholder management? How do you find mentors? How do you prepare yourself for leadership?
Yes, that's right. And that's the last sentence you made, you spoke about, is the right thing. You don't seek a promotion. You evolve into that level. You evolve, that's when, otherwise they will say he's reached his level of incompetence, he or she has reached the level of incompetence. Because it's only in the army or in government that based on time, even in army, it narrows up, right? Everybody doesn't become a general. So that's why I said quality is important and to be spotted, and there are many other qualities I'll talk about. But you have to accept the fact that leadership is not by right but by evolution.